The Portugal expert Nicolas Salerno goes in depth on the changes to regulations and how you can still get a Portuguese citizenship by investment.
Everything that is considered as a capital risk and that is not a real estate investment is not qualified.
A few years ago, you could simply invest in a property and get a golden visa. Now, things aren't so simple.
During these 3 years, just to clarify for people listening, they are not getting any residency.
It is a long-term investment and the price isn't cheap either.
This is 500,000 minimum investment.
We are with Nicolas Salerno, and they've been 21 years now, 22 years?
22 years in the industry, yes.
In the industry, in Portugal, mainly they've been in multiple projects. They are with Audium Investment.
I come from the tax optimization mode, so that's why I started into this industry 22 years ago. And obviously we are very familiar with it. We did it. I did it for myself.
Yeah.
The new version of NHR, we are less involved in the sense that it's more difficult to qualify for our clients, and the set of benefit you get is harder to really capture. I think this is something that will cater more on a population that really wants to move there and has certain kind of income, like high executive, technology. We have those kind of clients, but typically they don't really, like they are in such high revenue that they're trying to look for different alternatives than the one of Portugal, which, you know, at the end at 20%, it all depends. It's a numbers game, you know.
Yeah.
If you make $1 million a year and you're going to pay 20% taxes, you know, you can accept to pay 200,000. When you start to be with clients who are making 50 million a year or 100 million a year, I mean, those guys that are in technology, they don't feel like paying 20%. So they will try to explore different jurisdictions where it might be a little bit more appealing for them on a tax point of view. But NHR had been a very, very good scheme for Portugal. I know that there are here a lot of, you know, I will not say manifestation, but requests made at the higher level by different associations in Portugal, the Real Estate Association and other lawyer association, in order to be able to have the government reconsidering NHR a little bit closer to what it was before, in terms of the some set of exemption, because I think this kind of program, truly not only because I moved to Portugal because of that as well myself. I think it's really a good way to encourage business people who have good idea that are willing to actually make decent investment in Portugal to come and to commit to stay in Portugal and to put their family and to contribute to the economy. And a lot of times the government, when they look at a law, they are looking at how can I get elected next? And they intend to go with a populist measure, especially in a country like Portugal, which is more like left-sided, I mean, communist, socialist. And obviously to capture the mass number of votes, you are going to try to take decisions that will be very strong on the social level as, you know, more than on the capitalist level. And that's unfortunately it's kind of negative on Portugal. In our industry, it had been a big challenge in the past 2-3 years. You know, we had multiple challenges actually in Portugal. I'm talking about Portugal because we are in Portugal today. Yeah. Obviously, we are offering services more than Portugal, but I mean, Portugal had been suffering a lot of regulation change. They decided to stop at first to change the threshold of investment for real estate and the category of investment in real estate you could do. I mean, before 2021, you could actually invest in any kind of real estate you wanted, as long as you were investing $500,000. After this period of time, they restricted and forbid people to acquire a property in the main area under the consideration that it was preventing local people to actually reside in downtown the city because the investment of all those golden visas were racking up the price to the roof, and it was making it impossible for most of the normal people living in Lisbon to actually stay in Lisbon.
And that's the reason why they stopped giving the real estate option, or one of the reasons they stopped that program?
That is one of the declared reasons, which was making love most of people of the industry, because when you were looking at statistic, those transactions were representing less than 1% of the entire real estate market in Portugal. So this is definitely not golden visa that was bringing the price up, because it's statistically, and I mean, we're talking about numbers that are publicly available, you don't move a market with 1% of the transaction. So it was something else that was driving the market, most likely the NHR, because obviously anyone can come that doesn't need a golden visa, but I mean, comes with substantial means, might accept to pay more for the property, because if you compare it to, I would say, people coming from France, coming from the 16th arrondissement in France and going to move to Portugal, to downtown Lisbon, when you used to pay 13,000 per square meters and you're here and you have something at 5,000, you are accepting to pay 6,500 or 7,000 to get it, because for you it still remains a good deal. And then the market went up, not only because of that, also because of the crisis that we had to suffer with the COVID and with the war in Ukraine. I mean, the cost of material increased a lot, and a lot of project costs almost double. So ultimately, when your cost of construction double, you have to expect the price of real estate property to increase substantially. So there is a combination of factors. The fact that they decided to restrict it from golden visa because it was a reason was somewhat a big irony for most of the people in the industry, because statistically not backed up at all by the declaration that were made at the stage of the government.
And how does impact you in a way? Because before they come to you for real estate and golden visa, now that's not possible. What's the change?
So I would say that there were two phases. As I say, the evolution of the golden visa went through major changes over the past 3 years. Until last year, we didn't really have any impact, in the sense that from the very beginning of our involvement in the Portuguese golden visa, we were not involved. I'm not talking about the advisory part of the business, but more as a real estate development part of the business. We had been involved in very specific kind of product, what we call storytelling properties. So we were rehabilitating properties that had an history behind them and giving them a second life. And this line of work, line of business, is exactly what the government wanted, in the sense that instead of targeting main downtown Lisbon, we were going into the rural area, identifying a beautiful thermal spa that used to exist in the 18th century and just giving him a second life. Or going to a former monastery that became a factory and then making it become a luxury 5-star resort. So that is a philosophy behind the investment of the company. And with that, we were already anticipating changes that were or could come, because obviously 21 years in the industry, we have maybe a little bit more ability to look forward and anticipate what could change and what could bother the government. And from the very beginning, we were, discussing in the team, and I was telling them, like, if they have to make a concession and scrap something, it's going to be downtown, because they don't really need golden visa to attract investment. But when it comes to the rural area, maybe it's more difficult to raise private capital, so they might be more inclined to maintain the golden visa. And this is what did happen. Down the road, 4 or 5 years after, they decided to eliminate certain category of investment, but they kept the real estate as long as you were doing rehabilitation of old building or you were investing in a rural area. So for us,
that's kept to get the golden visa?
That was kept until last year.
Okay, so last year, all of options...
Last year, there was a new change in regulation. At the beginning, people were thinking they will stop completely the golden visa. What the government did is that they accepted to keep the golden visa, making some transformation. So now what was RE investment category is now addressed under the entrepreneurship category. And they decided to keep the advantages of the golden visa, which is basically a very passive residency requirement, because 2 weeks every 2 years. And then allocates the possibility to participate to the golden visa, like keeping those low residency requirements, under more restrictive kind of investment. So investment funds were already existing, but before you could invest in any kind of investment fund that was closed-hand. Now what they decided to do is to restrict some activities of the investment fund. So if your investment fund has, for any matter, real estate component investment, so it is a real estate fund, it will not qualify anymore. So you could invest in hospitality, for example, which is managing touristic operation, but you cannot invest in the real estate itself. It has to be inside the operation. You could invest in, for example, agriculture. You could invest in index fund. We could invest in debt restructuring funds. Everything that is considered as a capital risk and that is not a real estate investment is not qualified under the investment fund scheme. And this is 500,000 minimum investment. So under this category, we can still apply. Then you have the cultural golden visa. This is something that used to exist before.
Okay.
It was maintained.
Okay.
Obviously, it was not really appealing to the people because the minimum investment or donation is 250.
Yeah.
And before
you lose the money, it's a donation.
Exactly. And you could do real estate rehabilitation at 280. So for anyone, I mean, the idea of losing 250 or investing 280, it's always more appealing to do 280 because even if you say, oh, imagine the project is not going to work well, or it's a bit risky, but even if you cannot lose 280 because you invest in real estate.
Yeah.
So
and the other
250,
one, you lose 250, 100%. Well, you lose. You donate 250.
So even if it was existing in the law and it didn't change, not the amount, not the principle, nothing, there was no one really involved in developing and marketing it because there is no real advantages for anyone to do that. And it's a bit complex as well in the sense that to get a project approved, you need to have also one of the government body involved in the state to be able to give the authorization. And that's a set of administrative issues that you need to handle. So, I mean, having complexity with very low marketability was really not appealing to anyone. Since the change of regulation and the new minimum threshold of investment at 500, then it makes sense for some people to position themselves on the 250. Truth is that till today, you don't have so many projects available on the market. We have some. I mean, one of the companies involved in Portugal did a cultural investment that is for profit. And that's something that people will start to make because it's eligible in the art business, for example. But
so they recover some part of the money afterwards?
You invest in art. So if you make a movie, for example, and you get the authorization from the government to qualify under this specific scheme, and then the movie happens to make money, then you might happen to get some money back.
Okay.
You can consider that you lose it, but you get the chance to actually get something out of it.
I see.
As opposed to a pure donation in, charitable work for, I don't know, like let's say we have a project that we work on the rehabilitation of a church. No one is going to get money. I mean, this is something you do for the state and they will say, thank you, you did help us. It's a completely different scheme.
Understood.
Okay?
So in your firm, which one today is the most popular way to gain access to the Golden Visa?
Definitely investment fund. One of the main reasons is that we also started an investment fund ourselves. I mean, we are shareholder of a investment fund management company, and also we have some investment fund that had been created. One of them is fully subscribed that is investing in forestry product. It was a small fund of 20 million with the state as a shareholder. This is an ESG fund. And
what's an ESG fund?
It's ecological, sustainable, and governance. This is like a new kind of way to basically say that a project is contributing highly to the society under different aspects. It can be ecology, because the project is contributing to, gas carbon saving, or it could be because you're planting trees, or it could be because you are investing in a project that do a lot of recycling. It can be social in the sense that your project is creating a lot of jobs or offering shelter to people with very low income, or it could be, governance in the sense that your project is abiding by certain rules that will benefit to the maximum people. So this is what ESG stands for. And basically, the fund the first fund we have is an ESG fund in the sense that it's a forestry product. We are planting trees, so contributing to the environment.
Yeah.
Exactly. and also selling carbon credits on the market to make a profit for the fund. So that's the first fund we did. It's not a golden visa fund. Surprisingly, because of the rules of the real estate, these funds that makes absolutely no revenue with real estate is not qualifying for golden visa because it owns the land. And we own the agricultural land. We are planting trees. We are harvesting almond and nuts and walnuts. But it doesn't qualify, although we have
because you own the land.
We have no income related to real estate, but only to, actually agriculture and environment.
Yeah.
So it's a bit weird the way the law was made because they didn't really plan provision for people like us that are doing good to the environment, so which is what should be actually promoted.
Yeah.
But this is the way the government decided to rule. So we didn't raise. It was fully raised, and we deployed everything, and that's a small first venture. And the second one is Mater Hospitality, which is an hospitality fund, meaning we have 3 projects already including inside this fund: 1 greenfield, 1 brownfield, and 1 rehabilitation. So those are the 3 projects. The projects are spread over the region of Portugal, not in the main cities. One is in Alqueva, which is the largest artificial lake in Europe, and it's a development of a touristic complex. Then we have another one in Douro, which is also a very famous region of Portugal with a microclimate that is as well a development of a touristic complex. And another one is in Borba, which is a locality in Alentejo. It's a region that we like a lot because it's, we are very close to the nature, and Alentejo is a farm of Portugal. And this is an historical building that we did rehabilitate. So those are the 3 projects that are already there. One of them is already in construction. The construction already started. We did put 20 million of our own capital already inside this fund. It's a unique feature.
Skin in the game.
Exactly. It's a unique feature for people running an investment fund because if you look at the other investment fund, most of the GP will put, let's say, maximum 1 million. And most of our competitors and friends, they put 1 million on each of the funds they do, which I think it's significant skin in the game. We really wanted to be really a notch up because the fund is developing a fairly large piece of real estate. We are looking at 100 million development. So we wanted to show that we are really believing in it, and we committed to very strong cash position inside the fund. So that's what we did with Mater Hospitality. And in that sense, we really are different than our competition because there is no one in the industry that did commit to this level in terms of its financial contribution inside the funds. Personal contribution, for sure. After you can raise a fund, and I think also one of the other key advantages is that half of the fund is going to be subscribed through private equity, institutional investors, and not through Golden Visa. So the Golden Visa portion of the fund is not going to represent a very large percentage of the total financial exposition that the funds will carry, which I think is also very reassuring for people looking for immigration, because they feel that there are very strong financial institutions behind them, very strong cash position, and I think it's part of the level of reassurance that some people are looking. Obviously, whenever your clients are going to ask you about investing in Portugal, especially in an investment fund, I think you should act as an advisor. You're not a salesman. You're not here to say this is the best, because this is not your job. You're here to advise a client and to basically guide him. So I think your job is to do like we do. We are presenting to our clients not only our funds, but maybe a series of 6, 7, 8 funds that we analyze. And we believe that they are good, solid, well-managed, good strategy, good business plan. And we tell the client, look, this is our funds, and this is the portfolio of funds we recommend you to invest in. And as much as I believe in our funds because of the commitment that we did put in it,
the investment,
we made a serious investment in it. It doesn't mean that it might be the kind of product you like, because I believe in hospitality. Obviously, you come to Lisbon, you try to get an hotel room, you will pay 400, 500, 700 in any 5-star hotel. So obviously the market is there, and it's full in October, it's full in November. it's getting full almost all year long. We had last year in Lisbon only more tourists than the entire Brazil.
Than the entire Brazil?
Than the entire Brazil. So it shows that hospitality in Portugal is there to perform. And I think they try to develop more and more high-end product that was lacking in the market. And they start to attract a lot of people, also through the Golden Visa, that have a higher level of income and that are willing to pay a premium to get a better hotel, better resort, better short-term stay apartment. So that's why in Portugal we are seeing more and more of those luxury development, and they're all working well. They're working extremely well. And also we realized that when before you were coming to Portugal and you were staying in a 5-star hotel, your expectation was to pay 200 to 250 euros a night. Today, people expect to pay 500 and plus. So it's helping also the industry to actually develop products such as the one that we are developing, because we are seeing that the long-term trend when it comes to the performance of the hospitality sector, especially in a certain category of hospitality, is definitely here to stay, at least for a little while. And for us, we believe that hospitality is good. Maybe your clients will say, you know what, I lack debt management, and there is this fund, Forward Capital, that is doing buying bad debt from the bank and restructuring them and then selling them on the market, and they make extremely good performances. And if your client is actually working in this industry, he might say, you know what, I prefer to put all my money there because I know this field, I know this is profitable, and this is what I prefer to do. Yeah. Our job is to provide a good
different
quality diversification.
Yeah.
Maybe 2-3 in hospitality, maybe some in debt restructuring, some in agriculture, some in index, some in technology. And then the client will make his own decision. Or even better, we tell the clients, look, I'm sure that you have a fund manager or you have a banker, because when you want to invest 500,000, you must have at least a bank manager that takes care of you. It's very rare to invest 500,000 and to be without advisor in retail banking. So you tell them, please, present this portfolio to your advisor,
analyze it,
what he thinks about it. So in our situation, it's a much more comfortable position, because when you focus on your product and you know what you do is a good product, and at the end you kind of put the responsibility of the advice to the banker and the client, because they will make their own judgment call on what is good and what is bad compared to their expectation. Because ultimately, whatever we propose is good. No, what is better for them, it's a very personal decision.
Yeah, totally.
It's like where you prefer to live. Do you prefer to live in a high-rise building, or do you prefer to live in the countryside in a villa with a pool?
Totally.
It's a different style of living, different appetite as well.
Totally. And Nicolas, since this is an investment, it can go wrong. What are the mistakes you've seen during these years working in the industry that people should be aware before investing or choosing an investment fund?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's a good question. Obviously,
because otherwise everybody would do it, right?
Exactly.
If it's just positive upside, no risk,
and
there's some risk.
I think it's a very relevant question, especially that it allows me to emphasize on what is the program about. When we talk about investment fund, it has to be capital risk. When you talk about investing in the capital of an industry and creating jobs, it has to be capital risk. The nature of the program of Portugal today, it's capital risk. So whoever is going to tell you, look, I'm going to give you a buyback, I'm going to give you whatever security, it's something you should consider staying away of, because the regulation is commanding for capital risk. We had the same thing in the EB5 program in the States. It must be capital risk. You cannot give any guarantee to a client. Otherwise, if you write that you are giving a guarantee, you're somehow contradicting your investment vehicle that is supposed to be a VC, a venture capital or capital risk business. So there is risk, and the nature of the risk is also obviously depending on what is the vehicle that you are using to invest. In our particular case, we are committing serious capital from our own pocket to kind of secure the client that they are covered at least up to what we did put. And we have our investment decisions that are made according to a value of development and where we see the investment coming. We try to also work with the best manager. one of our fund managers has been elected best fund manager in Portugal for the past 5 years. So obviously, when you have a strong team behind you, and I think this is what people need to look at, who are the fund manager? Who is the team behind the project? Do they have the relevant experience in this particular industry? Not only on the investment side, but also on the hospitality side or on the agriculture side. So you need to work with people that have the relevant experience. And I think this is the two main things that you need to look at. Obviously, the higher the level of commitment you have from the GP, I mean, the more serious they are invested in their own project. I wouldn't say the less risk, but the more likelihood they will fight for this to happen.
Because they have a lot to lose as well.
They have
if
more
it
to
does
lose.
not go well.
They have more to lose. I would say that a fund that is raising 100% money with Golden Visa is also a bit more risky because you are basically depending on one person getting the money from all Golden Visa that might decide that it's okay if they don't get all their money and then not fight for you the same way. If you have institutional investor behind as well, they usually put more pressure, they have more leverage, and the mix of private money from the investors, institutional investors, and Golden Visa is what we prefer to see in an investment project. So if a fund combines those three elements, I will say that obviously it's a bit less risky, but the risk will always exist. I mean, they might change the regulation. We have a very good fund manager and a fund that was one of the first one in Portugal that you might have seen, Optilam Crea. They did invest in a very nice piece of property in Tejo, near the hospital. But at the end, the government didn't release the permits. So it's something that we didn't manage. Sorry, I did forget to put the phone on silent.
It's okay.
The government didn't release the permit on time. So whatever could have been an amazing project ended up not being able to be developed. So they are selling the asset and they will not perform. Doesn't mean that they will lose money, but they not perform as they were supposed to perform.
Correct.
It doesn't mean that they were not good. It doesn't mean that they don't have a good product.
They could have been better.
But sometimes you're dealing also with governments that have to issue licenses that might delay, and you cannot control everything. So no matter how good are the people that work for it, what is the level of experience they have, it doesn't mean that it will yield success. Most likely, it will yield success. And if it yields success, maybe instead of delivering 15%, it will deliver 5%. This is not something we can control. What we can is to try to determine that they have the capabilities, they have the experience, they have the depth of knowledge necessary to be able to perform in a given industry that they are investing in. And after that, obviously, you always have part of a bit of luck or, good star or call it whatever you want, but that is on your side to make sure that it goes well. We had projects that we did develop that had some delay it can be for management reasons, sometimes it can be for governmental reasons, and you can't control everything, because some projects will rely on subsidies and they are late to come. You will delay the project. You will lower the performances because instead of performing over 4 years, you will perform over 5 years. So the yearly yield is going to be less. So there is no absolute security in any project that we do. We intend to try to do things well so that we don't face these issues. It doesn't mean that we will not face it or we didn't face it. The important is that you have enough skin in the game to fight, to resolve it, and to make it happen for your client at the end.
Correct.
And this is what we always did on our side. And I know a lot of companies are doing.
Correct.
Not all of them, unfortunately, but the ones that are here for a long time are typically the ones that, they try to save their name and to make sure that
have a good reputation.
They deliver based on their reputation, indeed.
Totally. Because as you mentioned, the team is very important. I have here some of the board members. I see here Carlos Gomez, Gonzalo Carrington, Jorge Forte, Nicolas Salerno, of course. And then there's the chairman, Tiago Galimacedo.
Yeah.
Right? The fund manager that was elected the best fund manager in Portugal in the last 5 years, Which one? Or
None
it's
of them,
another one?
no, because actually
What's his name, so people can also know the strength of the team, if you want to share. Of course.
Pedro Montero Libano, who is former Montepio head of investment, and definitely in our industry, we have Investorium, that was the main developer for real estate, but after the investment fund is a separate entity. So it's not the same people that are always inside. Some of the people that were in Investorium actually decided to invest in the fund. You have to understand that when you participate in a company, in the private ventures, you put minimum capital and you can decide to enter according to the shares. When you go to an investment fund, you actually invest according to what is the level of money that you put in the fund. And not everyone might want to put that kind of money towards holding shares in the fund. So in a partnership, I mean, something changed because of the money that you're willing to commit in your venture. And that's why it's changing. But the fund management company is called Nativa Capital.
Perfect. So people can look for this because the team is crucial, as you said. It's going to be the winning.
Exactly.
Chances of winning or chances of, as you said, we're not going to fight for this that much. Because you've seen people over this long time in the industry losing money after the 5 years. They get the Portuguese passport for them, for the family, but they lost money.
Yes, and I would say you have two kind of people. You have people that say, a lot of people we see in Asia, at the end, even if they lose money, they have the passport, they say, I can live with it, you know. A lot of people who made their money, I would say more easily than others, they might accept that it is a cost for them to acquire the citizenship or the residency. Some people that are working very hard for their money, they might be very, very much dedicated in investigating what is the safest way for them to invest, because this is not fine to lose money for them. And it should not for most of the investment. But I will say, if I have to make a geographical distribution, if you go to Far East, there will be a little bit more in acceptance of losing a bit of money.
It's part of the process.
If you go into Middle East, Africa, or South America, or North America, they will not be fine losing money.
I see.
That's what I've seen from my experience. I mean, no one is fine to lose money, but the capacity of acceptance is much more in Far East, because they attach value to what they did for the immigration. And when you speak with them, they will tell you, look, even if I lose, or if I lose half of it, I assume this is a cost for me and I'm happy with what I get, so I can live with it. And some people, they will not be happy at all.
Yeah, so, totally. Makes sense.
I think this is an industry where we have to hope and to work to deliver. But obviously, I mean, accident might happen to anyone, to good people or to bad people. Some people, I mean, they structure their project with the already intention not to deliver. And I will not say give name, but I've seen many on the market.
You've seen it.
We've seen
22 years.
And some others, they put everything to make it successful, and sometimes it might not work as well as expected. But I mean, for me, this is something which is forgivable in the sense that when you give your everything and you do all you can to deliver for your clients, I mean, if sometimes it doesn't work, it's also part of the risk that is embedded in the category of immigration that you invested, So, as I say, you might have made the proper due diligence, you might have checked all the boxes, and then you don't control all the parameters that will come in the future, because you invest today for later, and this is valid in any kind of investment. I mean, if you invest in Bitcoin 20 years ago, you were the king, and after, when you were investing in a period of high fluctuation, I'm sure a lot of people did lose money as well, and that's something that you need to accept, because it's a risky vehicle of investment. Anyone who invests in Portugal through the investment fund must understand that this is a risky vehicle of investment. We are trying to make a selection of the least risky, most interesting investment vehicle, but it doesn't mean that there is zero risk. And someone that says there is zero risk is definitely giving you a false advertisement, and it's wrong. It's wrong to put it this way. Actually.
And as you said, it's not legal to even give a guarantee of anything because it has to be capital risk by definition, right?
Yeah, all industry is what we call self-regulated. So there is the equivalent of the Security Exchange Commission that exists here, CMVM, and in this particular regulatory body, you cannot say something which is not true because you have ethical obligation. You have obviously financial regulation, but you have also ethical regulation as far as what you can say, and you cannot make promises that are unrealistic. You cannot give a guarantee on something which is risky. That's unethical.
Totally.
So it's a job of the regulator to, whenever they identify this kind of behavior, to intervene. We've seen in the press lately some articles where there were some complaints made by lawyers on some fund managers that were claiming financing options or claiming the ability to have a buyback. I know that that's been on the news. I don't know how much legal proceeding had been done. To be frank with you, I was a bit too busy to kind of dig inside the actual legal action behind it. I don't know if it happened or not, but I know that the information was raised to the regulator, and obviously there will be some kind of investigation done, if not done today, done tomorrow, to make sure that this kind of behavior is not really polluting this industry. Real estate is a little bit more free market when it comes to a financial regulatory body. Then there are things that you really should pay attention when you are
Totally.
in the way you promote, and you're free to do whatever you want in terms of the vehicle of investment, but you should not contravene the rules of either immigration or financial regulatory body.
Totally. And we focused a lot on the investment side, but have you seen, to get approved for the residency or later on the citizenship, some nationality that had more difficulties to get accepted by the Portuguese government?
No.
Even if they have the money and say, look, I can invest, say, oof, if you're here, you're considered high risk, something like that.
Frankly speaking,
Or if they have money, they are welcome to Portugal.
Miquel, I've been working in this industry for 22 years. And I will tell you that you have countries that are putting rules and sanctions. And whenever you have sanctions, for sure you cannot proceed with those kind of investment or with those kind of clients. And you know from the beginning. Then you have countries that is taking longer time. Not because they are sanctioned, not because they come, just because of logistic issue. When I say logistic issue, let's take the example of Portugal. In Portugal, you are dealing with a country that was under deep crisis, that through partly golden visa managed to revamp its economy. And the other part of big saving that was made was actually through restructuration. Restructuration means that to have a better ratio debt on income, you cut your expenses. Cutting your expenses in a public entity is less public services, which means that the embassies or the different ministry or services that are dealing with immigration, for example, they are not staffed enough compared to the volume that you have. And today, in Portugal, we are suffering from two sides. First, from the side of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, which is impacting our clients when they need to legalize documents, or for the clients that you have another category of immigration, D2, D7, workers that wants to come to Portugal, because the embassy are very limited. And for example, if you're in Lebanon, you need to apply through Cyprus. But to go to Cyprus as a Lebanon, you need also a visa to go to Cyprus. If you are in Saudi, you're okay, but if you are in Egypt, you need to go through Jordan. Also, in Jordan, you need to go to Egypt, sorry. So there is limitation. If you go to Southeast Asia, in Vietnam, which is a huge country, you have to go through Thailand. And you have some centers that are servicing 7-8 countries that service like maybe 200 million people.
Of course.
So when you have one small embassy with 2 staff servicing 200 million people, you have to expect that some
delays are going to happen.
Are going to take you longer because Portugal is a popular scheme. So now today we are facing issues because the lack of public services, the lack of resources they have, despite the very recent reforms they did, we didn't see the result yet, also trigger longer processing time. And this is also something that I'm getting annoyed when I'm seeing advertising of people saying, oh, Portugal golden visa in 6 to 9 months. Yes, it used to be that 3-4 years ago, but today it's not 6 to 9 months.
I have a graph here. You will confirm if it's true or not. It says that Portugal golden visa has the biggest backlog of all the CBI and RBI programs in the world with 36.2 months delay. So it's almost 3 years delay.
Exactly.
Do you think it's quite accurate? This
Yeah.
was published by IMI.
Yeah, it was IMI.
Yeah.
Christian is a good friend of us.
Yeah,
And,
I'm going to put it in the link below, this graph,
Yeah.
so people can see it. But this was Q3 2024,
Yeah.
just for reference.
It's very accurate. I mean,
So-
Christian is very good in getting data. He's typically on top of the information. So whatever you find on his publication is usually quite accurate.
Yeah.
And I will say that we are today in 3 years. That's for sure. It can be a bit shorter for some people. We have 400,000 backlog. 400,000 with very limited resources. So
Crazy.
it's just insane, and it's very frustrating for people like us in the industry because we had a lot of change in the investment vehicles, but on top of that, we have to deal with deficiency in the immigration process as well.
Yeah.
So when you see, okay, I have less attractive investment vehicle, more risky, higher amount of money to invest, and longer processing time, it's very difficult. The only sweetener in the situation is the citizenship process.
Yeah,
because
it starts from the application day, right?
we don't know exactly when, because truth being said, we had this good news saying that they will consider from the time of application. But you have to keep in mind that whenever the regulator is going to put a law, is going to look at the majority. And majority of the application are under a category of immigration where you need to first submit your file at the embassy and then you go to do your biometric in Portugal. So first entry in Portugal was the standard, let's say, the trigger point. Now for golden visa, you directly go to the permanent residency. But how are they going to deal with that? It's also something, it's a big question mark. Is it going to be the biometric appointment, or is it going to be the submission or the payment of the fee?
So when it says application, which one of those
Exactly.
is the trigger?
And so we don't know. For sure they will save time for golden visa.
Yeah.
How much time they will save, we don't know.
You don't know.
I mean, 6 months, a year, or 2, 3 years is different. If it's 3 years, it's fantastic for everyone because indeed the frustration you have in a delay of processing the file is going to be completely absorbed with
Like having a passport.
the sweetener of the citizenship, because your main objective being citizenship is not going to be affected. And it's working. I mean, we have clients, many clients who got citizenships, they got their passport. I mean, we're not publishing anything, but it's we know 100% it's working. Well, many clients share the experience with us. We are handling cases from the moment of engaging the clients to the development of the project, to the investment, to citizenship. So we are with the clients from the first day until the last day, and we can witness the success of the program. And I know that on this, Portugal is delivering. That's 100%.
It's not if, it's when.
Exactly. It's not if, it's when. It's really well put. So no, if you look at the process and you really want to have citizenship in Europe, I would say Portugal still remain the best program because you know by experience in the regulation that within a decent amount of time you will actually get your citizenship. With limited residency requirements, so limited need to change your style of life for people working and being active in their business and traveling a lot. If you are looking at a pure residency, for sure, if you compare it to Greece, to Spain, to
even
so many other,
Latvia, it's the fastest
Latvia,
right now.
Hungary, it's a no-brainer. I mean, Portugal is not competitive at all. It's taking much time. The fees are more expensive. I mean, it's only negative points. So the only advantage we have with Portugal is the efficiency of the citizenship process. So that's why
That's a clear winner for sure.
and that's why it's still there. Because if there was no this change, we will not be able to market any Portuguese golden visa.
We processed clients where they needed access to the Schengen area much faster. And they had enough money to do Latvia. They got the residency, access to Schengen in 3 months. And then at the same time of Latvia, next week they were doing Portugal, knowing that in 5 years they would have the citizenship. So one is covering the first 3 years while they're waiting for the residency permit here.
We see a lot of that.
Right? Because during these 3 years, just to clarify for people listening, they're not getting any residency, right? So they cannot access the Schengen area with some type of paper or anything
and
like
it's
that,
a very
right?
good point you're mentioning, because I can tell you in our practice, I will say that 60%, more than half of the clients are doing more than one program. So there is a combination. Either you go Caribbean and Portugal, or you go 2 steps in Europe, but this is 60%. So it means that people who have financial means are trying to hedge the strategy, whether this is for tax optimization, this is for mobility, this is for long-term plan, but they are trying to hedge a position. And I think this is very important for advisors, people like you, to kind of develop the partnership you're trying to do with multiple service providers, because it doesn't exist a business where a client will go for only one thing. They need,
Even less in this industry that they love it, they want to start getting passports, residencies, they stack them.
yeah, but this is maybe a small percentage. I would say the collectioner is the life status,
Okay.
but I would say two
It's
is
getting frequent.
frequent. I mean, more than two, not that frequent. We have people with 4, 5, but in terms of percentage, from 60%, you down to 5%.
I am biased because I talk to them. They come to me for for advice and things.
Yeah.
But I understand. Yeah, in the general population, you're right.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people. You go on the street and ask 100, and how many passports you have, and they're gonna say more than 3.
Exactly.
One person out of many.
So I would say like 60% apply for 2, 5% apply for 3, 4, 5. You know, that's all statistics. You know, over 20 years.
Totally. And one last question would be, when people want to actually relocate to Portugal and spend time, not just the 2 weeks every 2 years, but actually live here, what would be a tax optimized way for them, for their family, to be living here in Portugal? What's still working?
Look, the NHR as it was before is not as appealing in the sense that they disqualify a lot of the foreign income from the tax exemption. So you still have some interesting advantage on locally earned income, 20% on certain kind of position. So it's still interesting, but obviously it's catering to a more selective clientele. I will always recommend to people making money abroad to kind of keep a company, a structure that will be able to keep their source of income and just to use whatever they need
Here in Portugal.
In Portugal. As long as you don't make distribution, I mean, legally in Portugal, you don't have to pay taxes on money you didn't make. So if it's a company that is making money, as long as you don't distribute, it's fine. So the day you decide to distribute, you will pay
20%,
you
depending on the
you will pay whatever you have to pay at the time of what will be the tax. But the principle is that if you don't need all your assets, all your income, because in Portugal you have less advantage as before for your NHR, it's maybe better for them to keep a structure and not to make the distribution without the need to do it. You know, why I say that, because maybe after 5 years they decide to move somewhere else, and if you pay high taxes on something you didn't need at this time, then it's not really a good planification.
Right. If you'd rather keep it outside of Portugal, and when you depart from Portugal, maybe after you get the passport, then you cash it out.
Exactly. Again, I'm saying if you keep it in a company and you don't distribute.
Yeah, correct.
If it's under your personal name, you have no choice to pay because it's
Totally
worldwide taxation in Portugal.
Correct.
But if it's kept in the company and you didn't do distribution, then it's often better for them to keep it this way until they decide to distribute.
So for what you're saying, Portugal does not care that you have a company in Estonia, Bulgaria, Cyprus, whatever country, even the United States probably?
You need to declare it, but you don't need to pay taxes on personal income you didn't distribute. If you have a company in Bulgaria, it pays 10% corporate taxes, you pay your taxes every year, you decide to keep the profit in the company for future investment. Portugal doesn't force you to pay on undistributed dividend because your company abroad makes profit.
And we'll already pay taxes in their
You pay taxes in the company keeps the money. If one day you decide to distribute this dividend, then you will have to pay taxes on this.
Of course.
If you decide that you will not distribute and maybe after 5 years you decide to leave the country, or maybe there is a better taxation on dividend distribution in Portugal after 5-6 years, then you might decide to move your money. It depends on what is you need and the way you are structured and where you make your income. It's a much more complex question in a sense that you cannot isolate NHR and worldwide tax optimization for a given client that might have, everyone has its particular structure and income source.
Of course.
But I will say that it's still interesting for certain category under the NHR. I know a lot of people coming from the States, from the US, working in the tech industry that keep keeping moving and being interesting in getting paid in Portugal. You have a lot of interesting category of immigration that is digital nomad or D2 or D7 that makes it quite easy for those people with either passive income or creating their own jobs to come to Portugal. So I think Portugal will remain attractive for people that want to live there. Those categories of immigration are often a little bit faster as well because they don't fall under the same
department.
Department, exactly. But I think Portugal still has a nice future. They definitely need to work on the backlog. That's for sure. I think government heard that, and I think they started. They hired 300 people in the immigration department in AIMA task force just to empty this backlog. They started to implement the AI. They signed a convention with the bar association to be able to subcontract part of the processing. So I think we are seeing some concrete, serious move from the state level in order to be able to improve the processing, and all this should convert into better processing time in a near future. So I think if that could be
totally. And as a final bonus,
Yeah.
I would love to hear what are the most exciting projects you have right now, because you mentioned that they are sold out so quickly.
Yes.
Like I was before we started shooting, I was like, what about this project? And what about this? Like, oh, sold out,
Yeah.
finished. What's the most exciting one they can still now apply?
Yeah. I mean, everything that you see on our website, it had been sold out. The only project that we still have available as a fund, investment fund. So Matter Hospitality will be, I mean, the main product, proprietary product that we are developing. It's going to be Matter Hospitality, which invests in 3 different projects. So this is the main one, and some more to come after. But I mean, this is an industry where it's evolving. What we try to do is to not overdevelop, overinvest. When we were developing real estate, we were trying not to do more than 3 at the same time because it's hard to keep control. Keep in mind, we were not born developer. I mean, we came into development through this industry. Everyone know real estate in the team, but to handle 10, 15 projects, it's not the same job than to handle 2, 3 projects at the same time. So obviously we were aware of our capabilities and we decided to do it at the size we know we are able to deliver, and we do the same thing for the investment fund. Obviously, we are a much bigger and stronger team behind it because of the institutional level that is behind the investment fund. But we prefer to go gradually, and whenever we raise enough on one fund, then we will start another one. But that's the way it works.
Totally.
So
well, here they could see the experience, 2 decades here in a few minutes, delivering a lot of value.
Exactly.
And they can find more in the website, investaureum, AUREUM.com, investaureum.com. Obrigado. Merci beaucoup. Nicolas, thank you so much.
Thank you.